From the invention of the first wheel to the invention of the first crossbow, humans have tremendously evolved in the sector of warfare and weapons. We all know about nuclear weapons, but ever wondered which are one of the best and most lethal modern military weapons out there? We've created a list where you can look at some of man's most dangerous and lethal weapons. These weapons were invented in the past century, while some ancestors trace back thousands of years. Before going on to the big things, we're going to start with several weapons that a single soldier can use. Let's start the video. Weaponry. The Middle Age was when the first functional weapons were found. Maces, which were essentially boulders put on sticks, had little value as hunting tools, but they were ideal for shattering other people's bones and heads. The sword made its first appearance later in the Bronze Age. Since then, weapons have been refined to maximize the wielder's killing capability, while limiting the opponent's capacity to react. The armed drone, an aerial vehicle that can linger at a high altitude for hours before delivering a missile to its target, is perhaps the peak of this tendency. In such circumstances, the drone operator could be on the other side of the planet, and the act of killing appears as impersonal and unreal as a video game. However, the analogy falls apart when looking at the rates of PTSD among military drone operators, which are comparable to those of ground troops. Battle weapons have changed over the years, from rocks to rockets, but a few stand out as revolutionary for their killing capacity. The continuous creation of lethal new fighting weapons is a recurrent thread throughout history. The U.S. Army and the news release of atomic scientists have researched weapons used during history and used actual data from battles to calculate their lethality index, a numerical measure of a weapon's destructive power that takes into account range, rate of fire, accuracy, the radius of effect, and ground-bore movement. Weapons of mass destruction. The disease has often taken more lives than warfare throughout the history of armed conflict. Intentionally bringing infection organisms to the battlefield, on the other hand, is a risky approach at best, as biological weapons are even more unpredictable than chemical weapons. Viruses and bacteria are indifferent to uniforms, emblems, or allegiance. The Genoese defenders at Kaffa resisted a Mongol siege for more than a year, beginning in 1346. When sickness struck the besieging soldiers, the Mongols struck by hurling diseased bodies over the city walls. The Genoese, fleeing the disease that quickly spread throughout the city, accidentally spread the plague throughout Europe, killing 25 million people between 1347 and 1351. The Geneva Protocol of 1925 forbade biological weapons, yet Japan used biological weapons in China and ran a massive experimentation program that killed over 3,000 human test victims. The Biological Weapons Convention, BWC, prohibits developing and storing deadly weapons. Still, it was later found that the Soviet Union had been secretly developing biological weapons since the convention was signed in 1972. The BWC was more of a statement of global principles surrounding weapons of war than an actual prohibition of biological agents, because it lacked an invasive inspection and enforcement apparatus. European religious wars, arquebus. The arquebus is the first shoulder-fired gun used in warfare in 15th century Spain. It was necessary to employ a fork rest for support. Although the weapon was reasonably affordable, it was inaccurate at long range, took up to a minute to reload, and may induce irreversible hearing loss in its users. Sword. The earliest known specimen dates from around 3000 BC, at the commencement of the Bronze Age. But the sword did not become widespread in use for thousands of years. The blade is dangerous in the right hand and significantly requires palm fighting, limiting its lethality. Crossbow-wielding hunter. The crossbow was a potent weapon that first arose in East Asia in the 6th century BC. It was considerably easier to master than a standard bow and required significantly less strength. A 16th century cannon. An early gun made effective siege weapons, allowing armies to pierce castle walls with set projectiles weighing 12 pounds. However, cannons had numerous disadvantages on the battlefield. They were difficult to move even with horses, and aiming was essentially guesswork. Muzzle-loading musket. The flintlock musket, which first came to Europe in the early 17th century, was a significant improvement over the arquebus. It was much lighter, thus no support was necessary. In the 18th century, the gun Brown Bess musket, capable of firing 4 rounds per minute, was a favorite of the British Army. Misfires were a serious issue, and they could not be used throughout the reign. A rifle with a breech loader. Breech-loading rifle rounds, unlike front-loaded muskets, are put into the rear of a barrel, saving time. Rifling or grooves bored into the barrel of a gun held bullets during firing and improved accuracy. Although the weapons were in use earlier, in the American Civil War, an African-American buffalo soldier holding a single-shot rifle dates from the 1890s. Sniper rifle, Springfield, 1903. 2 to 5 round magazines, this rifle could be fired semi-automatically and used by American forces during World War I. It immediately built up a reputation for being a dependable, accurate, and lethal weapon. The gun is now used as a sniper rifle during World War II, albeit its narrow range of 600 yards hampered its utility. A quick reminder, if you've enjoyed the video so far, consider subscribing as we frequently upload such informative and entertaining videos. Let's continue. Assault rifles in combat situations. Assault weapons introduced by Germany near the conclusion of World War II have the rapid-fire power of a machine gun, about 550 rounds per minute. All assault rifles can fire selectively, have detachable magazines for reloading, and range at least 330 yards. During World War II, the assault rifle altered infantry fighting, as the volume of fire and quick maneuvering by small units overtook precision shooting as a measure of progress, an evolution that ironically minimized the accuracy difficulties that rifling design sought to address. A fighter bomber from World War II. All-metal construction, fluid engines, and more potent armament made planes significantly more lethal during World War II. They played an essential part in Germany's Blitzkrieg strategy, a British Hawker Typhoon capable of carrying 2 1,000-pound bombs, seeing as, later in the conflict, the plane was also armed with rockets. Fat Man nuclear bomb with a yield of 20 kilotons. Fat Man, a roughly 20 kiloton plutonium device fired over Nagasaki, Japan, on August 9, 1945, was the most powerful nuclear weapon ever used offensively. When seen from Koyagi-jima, the blast killed up to 40,000 people right away, with at least as many more dying later from the radiation's effects. A hydrogen bomb with a yield of 25 megatons. With a maximum yield of 25 megatons, or equivalent to 25 million tons of TNT, the B-41 hydrogen bomb, first deployed in September 1960, is the most potent weapon ever created in the United States. It is also the deadliest, with a lethality rating of about 4,000 times that of Fat Man. Fortunately, the thermonuclear weapon was deactivated soon after it was built. The B-83 bomb is the United States' most potent weapon at the moment, with a yield of only 1.2 megatons. Weapons in the M16 family include: in 1956, inventor Eugene Stoner tested the predecessor to the modern M16 rifle, the AR-15, at the infantry school at Fort Benning. The gun wouldn't be in the United States for another 4 years, only with the United States Air Force. In 1965, the U.S. Army followed the M16 bandwagon and the U.S. Marines in 1966. The original AR-15 was a reliable and revolutionary rifle. Still in Vietnam, a last-minute change of gunpowder and misunderstandings about the necessity to clean the gun contributed to a low reliability rate. The M16's direct impingement self-loading system, in which gases and carbon residue made when gunpowder burns are cycled back into the weapon's internals, compounded the issue. What are your thoughts on the weapons mentioned above? Have you ever seen any of these weapons in action? Let us know in the comments. We'll be happy to read them. If you found this video informative and enjoyed the content, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button as well. We would really appreciate this gesture. Thank you for watching.